So it looks like it's time for another Wanderlust. This time I wanted to think back. I actually had probably like 20 different things I wanted to talk about. If I could film them all at once, it would be great. But I'm trying to do them in interesting areas if I can. I wanted to talk about local game stores this time, my memories of them, and share some thoughts and get your thoughts while I run some errands, and hopefully we can have a little fun. I'm actually at my parents' house again this week. Gotta help them get rid of some trash. It's got to go to some crazy dump across town, and I realized that I would be driving past my old local game store and also driving across his lawn. Sorry, Pop. It's the only way I can get back here. So I think when I learned about Magic, it was from someone who already had cards, lots of cards, and already had a lot of, like, I don't know how you describe it, but I had no need for a card store for a long time. I didn't have really any need for a game store because I played casually and I met like 3 or 4 people that played. So I didn't need, other than buying cards, which, I did sparingly because I was only 14 years old. I had no money. But I came across a place called, I think it was called Sports Cards and Things. This shows you how old it was. They had like cases and cases and cases of sports memorabilia back when sports memorabilia was a viable business. And I just remember going there and just, to be honest, I was actually a big sports card guy too. I collected football, basketball, baseball cards. I think that's part of Magic that I really was turned on to originally, was just the collecting aspect of it. I liked to play, but I liked the cards. I liked to possess the cards. I like to have cards that no one else had. And so there is a mall in town. This is in West Bend. There's actually an indoor mall, which is crazy. To have an indoor mall in a small city, maybe 15,000 people or 20,000 people at the time, was crazy. But I remember you used to walk in and there was the coolest arcade, Circus, I think is what it was called. This is back when arcades were a thing. Killer Instinct was out. Afterburner, that was like my favorite game. And we used to ride our bikes from here all the way to the local game store. And I remember going in and seeing cases and binders full of Magic cards. The guy that ran the place, his name was Doug, and his wife's name was Sandy, I think. And the funny thing was, Doug was actually my bus driver. And so once I started playing Magic, we kind of had like this unspoken friendship. Yeah, I was friends with my bus driver, cool kid, right? But we kind of had like this unspoken friendship of, he knew me from the store. He drove my bus. I didn't get any like special treatment or anything, but it was like, well, he knew I was there. So my parents worked during the day, and I used to have to ride my bike all the way there. So I would put all my cards, what I had, which was like 2 of those white boxes, you know, in my backpack, get my cousin who lived right behind me. We'd ride our bikes all the way into town. It took maybe, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour or something. Ooh, I knew that was going to happen. These are all my dad's burn barrels from the last 10 years. They don't last forever. I didn't want them just rotting out here, you know? So I decided to come get them. Found a place to take them. Anyway, so I think it was called Sports Cards and Things. And the things were Magic cards. They had a small section like on the other side of the counter where they had Magic the Gathering, Vampire the Masquerade. They had some D&D stuff. Trying to think. They had Rage cards back then, which were like Werewolf. I think Upper Deck printed them, and they looked incredible for the time. I think it's still some of the art rivals what's out there today. Anyway, I can remember kind of feeling like home and going there for the whole day with like $12 in my pocket, you know? Enough to buy maybe a booster or 2 or some singles. And then in the mall there was actually a Subway, and we would always eat there because that's where you ate. I mean, the card shop had like junk food, but we'd walk up to the Subway and I would get a foot-long meatball and a soda, and then we would always walk back and forth to refill our sodas, and they never really cared. All those foot-long meatballs are probably why part of the reason I look the way I do, but damn, they're good. So this is actually the road I would drive up, or I mean, ride my bike up. And I don't know how many miles it is. I could probably look, 123, 490. I would probably guess it's like 4 or 5 miles to get into town. But we had this awesome pit stop at a little gas station. Now that I look back, I think my parents might have been a little crazy to let me ride my bike into town. But we would come up this road, and then there's this crazy hill. Anyway, this hill was always fun to ride down and brutal to ride back up, because you had to get mad momentum. On the way back, you could make it all the way up easily, but on the way in, you'd run out of steam by the bottom of the hill. And I didn't have like a 10-speed. Neither did my cousin Adam. I think we were both on like BMX bikes because that's what was cool at the time. I remember this hill being like, you know, much bigger when I was 13 or 14 years old, but you get to the top and that was pretty much smooth sailing. And we would go ride our bikes to Sports Cards and Things, and this is, I don't even know if organized drafts were like a thing in Revised. Maybe they were, but you just went and you played. No, there was no like, what kind of deck do you have, blah blah blah. And I look back at how hospitable Doug and Sandy really were, because I'm certain they never made any money there because it was such a big location, and eventually they closed, like unfortunately many local game stores did. I think because they were relying so much on sports cards, and sports cards just tanked. But I assume that's what he was into, so that's okay, I guess, as long as he worked out all right, you know? He was always driving the bus still, even when he had the store, so, you know, now I realize how patient he really was, because we would go up there with like $10 between us, you know, and just look at singles all day long, and look at his penny box, you know, build decks out of there, spend like 2 hours going through that box building a deck for like $1. I guess, like, basically pauper back then. I don't remember. I mean, I was so young. I mean, I don't know if you're like 14 today, if you're aware of all the formats and stuff like that. Maybe I just wasn't aware, but this hill too was brutal, but it was worth it, because we would get to this place, which is Tripar, and it's been remodeled. It used to be just basically a little tiny shack. None of this was here. But they had pizza burgers. And they had, you know, back then, Jolt. I'll get a Jolt and a pizza burger, and then we'd get on our bikes and finish the trip. I'm gonna take the long way here. And they built a Hobby Lobby up there. And that's the Shopko. That Shopko's still been there for like a decade. Well, maybe longer, 15 years. And the mall that you might be seeing in between it now, which is like full of boring stores like Shoe Carnival and Sally's Beauty Supplies and Bath and Body Works, that's where the, actually Chocolate Factory is a good restaurant to eat at. But that used to be called Paradise Mall. And you could go in, and that's where Sports Cards and Things was. There was another shop downtown that I visited very infrequently, called like 5th Avenue Cards or 6th Avenue Cards or something. Oh, there's a Panda Express here now? See, all this stuff I don't know. I haven't been really down this main drag in a long, long time. But I have a lot of fond memories of that store. He used to hold tournaments once a month, and we would, I don't think there was like any deck check or anything. You just played with the cards that you had, because this was during Revised. So I'm not entirely sure there was any like formats. There was just the cards you had. Because I remember playing against a guy who had like Mox Rubies and stuff in the finals. I had a burn deck I made to the finals. And I remember he had like a Mox and a Gauntlet of Might and all sorts of crazy stuff. He destroyed me. But what was cool is this guy was probably in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. And he gave me the first place prize and took second place because he obviously didn't need it. I mean, he had Mox Rubies and stuff. Man, that new Corvette is so hot. I don't like white cars very much, but I like that Corvette in white. And I remember that was kind of like one of my earliest really good memories about the Magic community. Another time was when someone stole my cards, which was a bad experience, but then basically a lynch mob of people I barely knew went after the guy that stole my cards, and that was another really cool moment I had with Magic. And I'm gonna cover theft in another Wanderlust. I think theft is an issue on many levels in Magic, and honesty and things like that. I had to put the camera down because of the fuzz. Alright, I'm going to stop filming and driving now, get to my location, and then we're going to talk about the next shop I really fell in love with. So now we're heading to the place where, when I got back into the game, which I think the first organized event I really went to was like, definitely a pre-release. because there's a lot less pressure, right? If you haven't played Magic in forever and you're not familiar with the new set, you don't want to really go and draft, because, I mean, it's practically impossible, right? I mean, so I stopped playing in like probably 1995 or something like that, 1996. And, man, maybe 97. And I started buying, when I graduated, I finished my master's degree and moved back to the general area where I grew up, not the hometown. I'm not sure I could stomach that. The only real card shop around was this place called Games Universe, and they have like 3 different locations. And so I started out by going to like one of the locations. They have like 2 that are equidistant from my house, roughly. And I was just going and buying booster boxes. Whatever booster boxes they were selling for $100, I would buy. Not sure I would pay $130. My gripe always with them on sealed product is that they're too expensive on booster boxes, but you know, outside of that, you know, we have an understanding that basically I don't buy booster boxes from them because I only pay $100. That's what I pay. It's nothing personal. But anyway, I started buying boxes and then just opening up packs. And then I decided that I really wanted to try and actually play Magic. A friend of mine and I kind of played kitchen table. I was just buying cards and stacking them up and putting them in binders because at my heart I think I'm a collector more than anything. And I went to, I want to say, I can't remember exactly. I think it might have been Return to Ravnica. I definitely remember drafting Return to Ravnica. So it was also, when I started playing again, like sealed and draft, which I call, you know, well, you'll hear me refer to as limited format often. I played a lot on MTGO because, I mean, to be totally honest, like, it constricts you to knowing the rules. I mean, when I came back, I didn't even know there was a second main phase. I mean, that's how long it had been. We never played with a second main phase back when I played when I was a kid, you know? So playing on Moto actually helped me really learn a lot about the way the game is played. I buy some Magic cards there at Hobbytown too, but... So once I felt confident in my ability to actually play the game the correct way, I started coming here, Games Universe in Menominee Falls. And I forget who was working at the time, but the guy I really relate to now, who's real passionate about his job, and he runs almost all the events that I play in. His name is Bob, and really super cool dude. Always been really nice to me, and he didn't love my price gouging video, but they did sell those they sell their fat packs at 40 or whatever the normal price was. 30, I forget now. But this game store is what really got me back into Magic full time and got me into playing and meeting people. And fast forward like a year or two later, and I've been drafting with a lot of the same guys for a couple of years. And even though we don't really hang out outside of drafting, I mean, I see them a couple times a week, and I consider them friends, you know? And we talk about Magic, and we talk about life, and it's always fun. You know, a lot of the most important times, like when I go to drafting is great. It's super fun for me. It's what I like. I like to open packs. I like value. Drafting is for me. But the time in between rounds is just as fun for me. When we're standing outside and just chilling and talking about what they drafted or what's going on in the meta, that's the part of real life Magic that you can't get on MTGO, right? Most of the interaction I get on MTGO is trolls. Not even trolls, but salty whiners. And there are people that get salty here, but not really. The people that play here are really good about sportsmanship and not getting tilted by anything. And in a lot of ways, this store is, I would say, 100% responsible for my YouTube channel existing, my return to actual Magic, and everything you see today. And maybe if Bob's working, I'll walk in and just talk to him for a minute, but I wanted to show you this joint. This is where I play every Wednesday night. You see it in my pre-release videos, and you should all be familiar with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, Bob's on the phone, so I got to shoot some video. All right, so I would have loved to taken my drive to Louisville so I could talk about through the decades as, for me, like 6 months ago when I moved to Louisville, it was super lonely down there, and it's already my kind of propensity to want to stay inside and not like go looking for interaction with people. And you know, I moved down there and like a month or two had passed, and I just found every reason in the book to not play Magic, to not drive, because you know, it was a 50 mile an hour. There's 50 mile an hour winds out, gusts happening right now. Otherwise I'd be outside, but I found every reason to not drive to this place because it was maybe 30 minutes across town. I didn't know the area. But I'll tell you what, when I finally went and I walked in, I just knew that this is how a card shop should be. The walls are completely packed with Magic cards. There were more singles there than I've ever seen in any one place in my life. And Alex, the owner, is one of the best combinations of cutthroat businessman and for the players that I've ever seen. You can look in his eye when he talks about how he wants to be the biggest shop in the area. He wants to have the biggest events. And you can see that it genuinely bothers him. Like, I remember going to this pre-release one time, and we had to turn some people away on a Saturday because we didn't have enough kits. We had over 100 people, I think. And you could really see that he was genuinely bothered because we had to turn people away. And you just don't see that combination of compassion and kind of cutthroat business anywhere. And I think that's why I like the guy so much. And then you move to his staff. His staff is amazing. I've gotten to know many of them, and they're all the same way. They care exclusively about the players. Their prices are great. Their draft pods are great. And another thing too, I learned how to be a much better Magic player. They have a motto on the back of their t-shirts, like "Save money, play better." It's totally true. Especially when you play limited. The players in Louisville were significantly better, and the level of competition was more, I think, because it's just a bigger store, right? but it made me want to be good at Magic. And I owe that to Through the Decades. And not to mention, Alex, the owner, went out of his way to sponsor MTG headquarters, which is amazing. He didn't have to do that. But he's really, I think, a kindred spirit for me in that you can just tell he cares about the people that come to his shop. And for a shop that size to still care that much about each individual person that comes in is incredible. I mean, when you have 100+ people on a pre-release and to still have that level of dedication, I really hope if anyone is in the Kentucky or Louisville area that they go there, because I can't imagine a better shop. That's not to disparage where I play now. I just mean, he does it a little bit better. And he's earned that right. And I don't feel bad saying it. And that shop really saved me at a time in my life when I felt like I didn't, have any options. I was just sitting at my desk, working all day, going to Jimmy John's for lunch, coming home, and drinking at night. And this gave me a place to go when I was brand new to a city and I knew nobody, and the players there were so inclusive that I owe a lot to Through the Decades, the players there and the staff there. And I really hope that you find a shop like this too. And that's kind of the theme of this video. It's kind of like 3 shops, the 3 most influential local game stores in my life. And they all came at very interesting times in my life, whether it was me moving, me getting back into the game, or me learning the game completely. Sports Cards and Things, Game Universe, and Through the Decades have all been so influential in my gaming life that I'm hoping to hear some stories from you guys in the comments about your local game stores and the relationship you have with them. Because it's a tough business. It's a really tough business to make money. It's a passion project for most owners, I believe. And they're the ultimate ambassadors for the game. So I just like reflecting on how local game stores have impacted my life. And I think I'm going to talk about theft in Magic later before I get blown away out here. But I figured I'd finish up the video in my backyard because, there's my dog. He's like, "What are you doing, Daddy?" But, yeah. So the best thing I can hope is that you'll find your Through the Decades or your Game Universe in the future, or if you already have, for you to remember a little bit about all the bad experiences people have, and to be a little thankful for that community that they've cultivated. I definitely, in this journey, have grown my appreciation. Hi, little guy. Hey, Vanny. Hey, Docky. Docky and Vanny and Colty. Too cold for them to be outside. Except for that guy. That is Indy. Or El Pooperino. He's also known as El Pooperino. Wisconsin winter's coming. It's a great time of the year to play Magic, though. Not a heck of a lot else you want to be doing. I couldn't leave all my baby tunes here. What's up, and thanks for watching this video. I produce all different kinds of content, so if you haven't yet, click on my face to subscribe. If you want to watch more videos, I've got some sweet playlists, including this one, where I open up every fat pack ever created. I've also got this one over here where I open just about anything vintage and old and expensive for your enjoyment. And all this is made possible by the awesome backers at our Patreon, which is linked in the description of every video. Hop on over there, check it out, see if it's something you might want to consider. If not, sit back, enjoy, and I'll still love you.